So welcome everybody to another review as read. Today we're talking about the campaign series of Fornovo 1495 France's Bloody Fighting Retreat by David Nicolle Phd. Today, basically again, we're going through a simple format, talk about the book, the pros, the cons, and then a conclusion. So obviously this is about Charles VIII's campaign into Italy in the 15th century with the focus on the Battle of Fornovo in 1495. So first, let's go into the pros of the book. The pros of the book is definitely that it's Osprey publishing. Fantastic art, firstly. Example, you can see the maps. Nice bright colors, and the art is absolutely wonderful. And on top of that, you got these great Easter egg details that Osprey has. I'll give you an example here. Example, if you look at this actually details that this is a private collection. They were talking about the armor of the time of the battle, where this eccentric collector in the 19th century collected the Milanese and the armor of the time, and how he had them be worn by the wooden replicas of his boyfriends, and his name was Frederick Stribert. Great details like that. And on top of that, it talks about the battlefield today, like with most Osprey publishing books, that if you wanted to go see the areas where the Italian campaign was fought, they detailed, like, for example, public transport is good and such. And something that I was not expecting was actually they tell you how to war game Fornovo if you were a miniature gamer, which I was. And the details that they would give from what, example, the miniature size, 6mm, 15, 28, and what rules they would use to, and how they would tweak those rules. Now, a point about wargaming and the battlefield today is that this book is pretty old. So you probably have better resources today in 2014 to use than the ones given in this book. And of course, with any Osprey publishing, that how the book itself is laid out is always very nice and orderly. Example, as you can see, everything is always like, example, French plans, then Italian plans and such, so you can always compare and contrast. So that's basically the pros of the book. So let's go into the cons of the book. And the cons is quite a bit, because like I say, it's a campaign, but it's focused on the Battle of Fornovo. So in terms of the campaign itself, the details suffer quite a bit. Example, the battle where Charles VIII fought and secured Naples was not even mentioned. I actually found this after I finished reading the book. I went to look online, and I found that this particular battle, so that battle wasn't even much referenced or talked about in this book. But details such as the list, because of the way the Italian armies are, each one had a mercenary group, and then you have leaders of each, and then relatives of the leaders and all that. So they detail those, which to me, I personally don't really give much. I did not much interest in that detail. So again, it's maybe too little of one thing and too much of another, which depends on the person, I guess. It's like the Hobbit movie, the book, like the Hobbit movie, it doesn't seem to know what it wants to be. Example, with the Hobbit movie, does it want to be a kids film, or does it want to be a serious film? With this one is that, if I was, like with the Battle of Sekigahara, which I did the review on for Osprey publishing, that was a great book, because whether I was a veteran or I was beginner, I felt satisfied reading that book. For this one, I felt either way, and I'm a beginner to Charles VIII's campaign into Italy. It just felt unsatisfied. Like I said, after I finished reading the book, I actually went online to look for more details. And on top of that, if you look, I encountered this straight away. You look at this map. It's a decent map, but the minute you start reading the details on the following pages, you keep referencing to areas they go to. Here, it's not listed. And I understand why, because if they were to detail every single place, the map will become way too cluttered. By the same time, you don't know where the locations are. unless I guess if you're native or you go Italy, you like Italy a lot. But for me, especially when they talk about little small towns and all that, I don't know where they are. And on the point of clutter, when you look at the Battle of Fornovo itself, as you can see, the crease of the page actually cuts the map, and it's hard to actually see. Not that part you can still forgive, but again, it's one of those things where I felt maybe you do a landscape. But here's the issue: all of this is all different phases. For example, it's not like, let's say, example, here's all phase 1 and then phase 2. Everything is like arrows pointing out. So in the same location, you could have phase 1 and phase 3. And because of how, like, the problem is the way the armies were, how you say, organized. There could be units that charge, and then they fight, they retreat. Some units retreat and some units stay. So in the same area, you could have phase 1, phase 3, phase 2. You know, so, and that's not really a problem until you see that all these arrows pointing out is way too much clutter. You have to go through the page several times and make sure you don't miss anything if you were a detail freak. And I kept reading it, but at some point, literally, I would just read through and not even read whether what phase it is, and just read the summary after that. So again, way too cluttered, and overall, I must say that the issue is that the book doesn't. I don't know who I could recommend this to. If you're a beginner, you probably could, and you needed to do a project on this, you probably could get way better books than this. And unless you really want basic summary and a quick read, you could use this. But I say if you wanted a really short report, you probably could find better online, even like a Wikipedia. And if you were a detail freak and you wanted to learn about Battle of Fornovo, definitely, the Italian campaign, you could get a much better book. It's either too little detail or too much detail in some areas, which depends on what you want. But I really wouldn't know who to recommend this to. So it's not a horrible book, strangely, but again, if I would say that there would definitely be better resources out there than this book if you wanted to know about the Charles VIII campaign or the Battle of Fornovo in that fact. Thank you. So that's it. Thank you very much. Till next word.